And here in Washington, turning now to Capitol Hill, where House Speaker Mike Johnson is sending congressional lawmakers home early, canceling tomorrow's scheduled voting. It comes in the wake of the continued effort, mostly by Democrats, calling for the release of the Epstein files. Scripps News congressional correspondent Nate Reed is live for us on Capitol Hill. And Nate, we'll get to some of that scheduling developments in a minute here, but I understand over the last few hours we've seen a couple more developments, specifically when it comes to Epstein. What can you tell us?
We do a big win for some of the proponents of trying to get more information about this case and learning more about the Epstein saga. There is now a subpoena that has been sent in by the chairman of the Oversight Committee, Jamie Comer, to Ghislaine Maxwell to try and get her testimony from behind bars in federal prison in Tallahassee. There are members of the Oversight Committee who are now clamoring for that opportunity to ask questions of Mrs. Maxwell. I caught up with one of them, Congressman Tim Burchett, one of the Republicans who's been pushing for the disclosure and release of more of the Epstein files. You're on oversight. Do you have any questions for Ghislaine Maxwell? Will you go to the prison to interview her?
100%. If I'm allowed, I'll be front and center. I'm the one that called for the subpoena. I wrote a letter to Comer, a week or two before, and asked to get her in there.
What are you going to ask her?
I want to know the money trail. I want to know who's involved. I want to know why they're involved. I want to know how they gathered these girls, and the travel arrangements, and just start peeling back the layers of the onion. The problem you're going to have, of course, is she going to lie? Well, yeah, she probably will, but if she does, she goes back to her original sentence if we find out she perjured herself, and I think that'd be pretty easy to document. There's going to be some documentation along the way.
Now, the date in that requested subpoena is August 11th for them to fly down to Florida and have those conversations with Ms. Maxwell. Not clear if that will happen, but Capitol Hill is looking pretty empty just about now, Andrew, and that's because Congress has gone home. They were sent home by House Speaker Mike Johnson, who chose to do so after basically having the floor blocked, the inability to put up any bill for a vote on the House floor because in part of the discord that exists within the House Republican Conference over the Ghislaine Maxwell files and the Epstein files, a desire by some Republicans along with Democrats to get more of those released. At the same time, House Speaker Mike Johnson kind of forced to be between a rock and a hard place of the Trump administration, which has tried to push forward additional disclosure, and also some of the Republican members of Congress who want all of these files released as soon as possible.
All right, so Nate, you mentioned the House has specifically gone from Washington, or in the process, it looks like they're doing a very good job of it, of getting out of the nation's capital.
It's pretty empty up here.
A little bit of an idea of what the August recess might look like for especially some of these Republicans who presumably could go home to their districts and face potentially tough questions, whether it's on Jeffrey Epstein or some of the big legislative victories for Republicans. What do the next few weeks hold for House members?
Yeah, I mean, look, this was an opportunity, a prime opportunity for Republicans for one of the kind of first times since they passed the One Big Beautiful Bill Act to go home and try and sell that to their constituents. We talked earlier this week, Andrew, about some of the polls that show that the Big Beautiful Bill is not terribly popular. 60+% of Americans said that they don't really support the things that are in it. So there's a big desire here to, ahead of the midterm elections next year, try and get home and sell some aspects of that bill. But Democrats announcing, and Democratic leadership here in the House announcing that they're going to go to Republican areas and hold town halls specifically to talk about the Epstein issue. And even some Republicans, especially those who've signed on to that effort, predicting that it's not going to go away even with a month off. Here's Congressman Keith Self, Republican from Texas. You signed on to this discharge petition on the Epstein files.
I did.
There's now this Wall Street Journal article alleging that President Trump was told by the Department of Justice that he is mentioned in the Epstein files. Are you concerned there could be a cover-up coming from the White House as a result of that?
We want transparency, accountability, and justice. We want to expose the criminals, and we want to protect the victims. Because let's just be honest, some people may have flown on the plane, but they're not charged and did nothing wrong.
Do you think there's a good chance that he's in the Epstein files?
I have no idea. I haven't seen the files. I'm not on the Judiciary Committee. I have no idea. I just stand with the 79% of Americans that want accountability and transparency.
And as you just heard Congressman Self saying he's not sure either way of whether President Trump's in the Epstein files, that the two, obviously have these well-known photos together and documented relationships that President Trump says exploded, culminating with Mr. Epstein being kicked out of the Mar-a-Lago Club in 2004. A lot of questions that are going to surround a lot of these Republicans, and certainly there are going to be members of Congress who keep these questions flowing over the August recess. Democrats also making clear they're not going to let this issue go away. Speaker Johnson effectively lost control of the floor this week over the questions about votes to try and release some more Epstein documents. Another Congressman Thomas Massey of Kentucky, telling us that he thinks it's utterly convenient that the House of Representatives is going home just one day before he believes his bill to try and release some of these documents could have come up for a potential signature or a vote.
All right, Scripps News congressional correspondent Nate Reed live for us on Capitol Hill. Nate, thank you.